On April 30th, the Senate unanimously passed a rule immediately banning senators and their staff from trading on prediction markets like Polymarket and Kalshi, a bipartisan move to prevent potential insider trading. Now, Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson is introducing a resolution that would do the same for the House of Representatives. For more on the details of the resolution, let's bring her in. Congresswoman Ashley Hinson, a Republican representing Iowa's 2nd District in the House of Representatives. Congresswoman, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Great to be with you. Important stuff we're trying to get done.
So just to be clear, on the Senate bill, did that only bar senators themselves, or did it also bar their staff?
So it should have been all senators and staff working in that branch of government. And that's exactly what we're trying to do now in the House as well. You know, I look at these prediction markets, and you mentioned Polymarket and Kalshi. They're really blowing up right now. But I think along with that is the concern, right? As I travel through the state, hearing from folks who are worried about insiders really cashing in on political events using information that the public does not have. So I think there's nothing swampier than that. Whether you're an actual member of Congress or someone who's working knowing that information, we should be taking immediate action to ensure that the D.C. swamp can't make money off the policies that they're influencing every day.
What would you give the likelihood of passage at this point? If it already passed the Senate, are you pretty close? You think this could be a done deal very soon here?
Well, I hope so. I hope our leadership puts on the floor as soon as possible. And I don't know who in their right mind would vote against something like this, right? I think the Congress and the American perception of Congress right now is at a low point. And I think we need to do everything we can to make sure that members aren't taking advantage of the American people. They're not taking advantage of information. Congress shouldn't be a casino. Members shouldn't be trading individual stocks. I think that's another place where we need to take some action there. But I think this is a good start to make this rules change. And again, Elizabeth, I can't imagine who would vote against something like this.
Do we need to go further? Does Congress need to start creating legislation that would include the executive branch and some of the, there's many officials, the judiciary, all across the country, state and local officials?
Yeah. So I think this is a good, and I worked with Bernie Moreno in the Senate. So you talk about working across the rotunda here. The action that he took and the action we're trying to take is the quickest way to make sure that we pull this off the table for members of Congress. But what I think is important is that we look at the bigger bill, which is the PREDICT Act, and that would do exactly what you're talking about, which would be to make it off limits for anyone in the executive branch and the judicial branch too. But I think we need to get this done as soon as possible and take this off the table, because I think, again, serving in Congress should be a privilege, not an investment opportunity.
One step further on prediction markets, because they're not well defined. They don't fall clearly in the regulatory framework. And so even beyond that, if you said, OK, well, let's take a news industry, those who could bet on something happening where they have an influence on it happening, many other such. And because all these events, it could be, you know, somebody in a local jurisdiction having a town hall, and their bet is whether someone at a school board says or doesn't say something. Do you know what I'm saying? Do we need a broader framework about defining insider trading or applying those rules to prediction markets?
Yeah, and we very well might. It's kind of the wild, wild west right now, and we need to make sure we're at least taking these initial steps to try to get ahead of it. And I think that's a conversation to be had on our Financial Services Committee, so I look forward to working with them to see what more we can do. At the end of the day, this is about accountability and making sure that the American public can trust the people who are making big decisions and influencing policy on their behalf. And I think that's, again, why this is so critical that we get it across the finish line as soon as possible.
Did we ever pass the ban on insider trading of stocks?
So we had a piece of legislation that was making its way through the House Administration Committee, and I know Brian Stile has been leading on that, and I think that should absolutely be a priority as well. When I was named to the Appropriations Committee in the House, I made the decision I don't publicly trade stocks. I changed all of that to mutual funds and ETFs so that Iowans know that I'm not making my decisions based upon insider information. So I think Congress needs to lead by example here, and again, that's why I've tried to lead on policy like this with the prediction markets. And again, I don't think members of Congress should be getting rich off their job and the information they learn in the process. All
right. And I shouldn't have said insider trading. It was just all trading of stocks. But then you can always kind of wink at your financial advice. I don't know. There's many problems. This looks like the lowest hanging fruit at this point. So, Congresswoman, thanks for joining us to talk about it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Ashley Hinson.